America. What a country, huh? The good old red, white, and blue. Now, it's no secret, we got some serious problems here. Too many for one video. So this will be the first of many videos I make on the issues here in the USA. And the first topic we're gonna focus on today is Social Security. For those who know what Social Security is, you can skip ahead, but I'm going to explain it for those who don't. Social Security is a fund designed to pay retired workers an income after retirement. Now, this isn't a handout from the government. It's a fund you pay into throughout all your years of working, and when you're too old to work or want to retire, depending on how much you paid in, will decide on how much you receive after retiring. There's more math involved, but that's the gist. And to clarify the most common misconception, you're not paying into a personal account set aside for you when you do retire. You're putting into one big account, hence the word fund, that is entitled to all beneficiaries that also contributed. Now, the amount you pay in automatically comes out of your paycheck. It's known as a payroll tax. Just like you're forced to pay federal and state taxes, you're also forced to pay a Social Security tax. If you're like me, you'll say, well, this sucks. Paying all these taxes seem pointless. But when you're retired, you'll be happy you paid into Social Security. Because in America, let's be honest, saving money for a rainy day is hard enough. Never mind saving to finance your retirement. More than 66 million people depend on Social Security every month. Without it, who knows how those people would be living. I, too, will be relying on Social Security. Judging by my retirement portfolio and my choice of stock, I'm going to need all the Social Security I can get. But anyways, enough about me. Let's get into the problem here, shall we? Now, specialists, whoever the fuck they are, say Social Security will likely be depleted between the year 2034 and 2037. Depleted meaning all gone, drained, empty, adios. And the reason for this claim is with the baby boomer generation getting ready to retire, there will be more people collecting Social Security than people putting into Social Security. Now, the way Social Security is financed, it doesn't mean Social Security won't exist. The fund will be gone, but people would still be able to collect a monthly payment. What it means is instead of collecting 100% of all benefits they're entitled to, they would only receive about 70% of their benefits. Now, I did some math, and based on the average income and the 6.2% and people collecting, it broke down to a little bit over $700 a month, which is half of my rent. Imagine more than 66 million Americans that work their whole life only receiving a little more than $700 a month. Now, does that sound like a problem? Yes, indeed it does. But I wouldn't blame it on the people getting ready to retire or the paid in to paid out ratio. I would blame it on the structure or the tax max, which is the dollar amount capped on Social Security. If it were just percentage based with no caps, this fund would have more than enough dollars to cover all beneficiaries 100% of their benefits well beyond the year 2037. And what I mean by tax max or capped is this. So as of right now, if you work for a company, 6.2% of your salary goes into the Social Security fund. Your employer matches that and also pays 6.2% of your salary. But the 6.2% is only taxed up to $160,000. It's a couple hundred more, but for the sake of this video, we'll say it's an even $160K, which means people who make less than $160,000 pay 6.2% of their salary. And the people who make more than $160,000 won't. And I'll break it down like this. A person who makes $160,000 a year pays $9,920 into Social Security, which is in fact 6.2% of their annual income. A person who makes $1 million a year also pays $9,920 into Social Security, which is only 0.992% of their annual income. Not even 1 whole percent. Now make that make fucking sense. How do two people who have a salary difference of $840,000 pay the same into Social Security? I mean, you would think the rich people were poor by the way they get fucking tax breaks around here. Now you could say, well, someone who makes $1 million a year probably won't need Social Security, so why should they have to what? Why should they have to pay 6.2% just like everybody fucking else? Let me ask you this. Why is it okay for people who cannot afford 6.2% 6.2% be forced to pay that, and the people who can afford 6.2% not be forced to pay that. If everyone in this country paid the same percentage when it comes to Social Security, I would bet my life the Social Security fund would not be on the brink of fucking depletion. And if we start now, they say it wouldn't fix the problem. I disagree, but that also doesn't mean it wouldn't help. I mean, throughout the years, they decided to change the tax percentage from 1% to 1.5% in 1950, then gradually raised it from 1.5% to 5% by 1978, and then changed it from 5% to 6.2% back in 1990. And that's where the fuck we are today. Now, with the percentage changes, they did change the tax max as well, but why put a cap? Why do people think the only way to get more money is raising the tax percentage on the poor? A room full of people didn't think, well, maybe this dollar cap thing is a dumb idea. Let's get rid of it. I just don't get it. I mean, it's not fucking rocket science. Why do rich people always get tax breaks? It makes no fucking sense. The argument there is, well, if millionaires put in 6.2%, they would be entitled to more Social Security benefits in the future. And to that I say, okay, what the fuck's the difference? Whether they have more now or later. Either fucking way, no matter how you cut the pie, it's the same. So that is a poor argument, and it doesn't make much sense. In fact, I don't think there's one argument that can defend why everybody doesn't pay the same percentage when it comes to Social Security. I'm not the only person who thinks getting rid of this cap will most definitely fix this non-solvent issue with Social Security. Just the other day, during a House budget meeting, Branden Boyle said this.
Second point of agreement is we all recognize the reality that Congressional Budget Office and the folks who administer the Social Security Trust Fund have both verified that at some point in approximately a decade from now, the trust fund does become insolvent. This is a problem for all of us. This is from a piece of legislation that I have authored with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who is the chair of the Senate Budget Committee. This would ensure enough revenue is put into the Social Security Trust Fund to secure it through at least the year 2100. And those aren't my figures. The Joint Committee on Taxation has verified that by simply taking away the cap on those who make more than $400,000 a year, that will put in enough money into the Social Security Trust Fund that secures it for the rest of this century. So for people who say, my God, Social Security is running out of money, it's running out of money, the only solution is drastic cuts. It's completely false. This amendment does not remove the cap entirely. It keeps the cap, but simply for those who are making more than $400,000 a year, it again would reimpose the FICA tax. It also closes tax loopholes that allow some of the richest Americans from paying anything in Social Security taxes at all. There are more than 67 million Americans who rely on Social Security benefits. It is an earned benefit. I'm always quick to point out people paid into that program. My own father is one of those 67 million Americans. He worked for 50 years at hard blue-collar jobs, paying into Social Security. Now in retirement, the bulk of his retirement savings are in the earned benefit of Social Security. We have a solemn moral obligation to ensure that Social Security Trust Fund does not expire 10 years from now. Vote for this amendment. It ensures that it will be there for generations to come. I yield back.
Okay, so like I said, that was Congressman Branden Boyle from the state Pennsylvania. Now let's get into what he just said. And first, I stand corrected. Branden says this amendment won't remove the cap, so I guess he just wants to raise it. And before I sound like a broken record, I think I've made it clear where I stand with that. Branden also claims this amendment will prevent any of the loopholes the richest Americans use to avoid paying anything at all into Social Security, which I didn't even know was a fucking thing. Why would there be loopholes? You know what? I'm not even gonna get into it. But yes, I agree. Whatever loopholes exist that prevent any rich assholes from paying anything into Social Security should be removed. 2023, and we are now just talking about making the richest Americans pay something into Social Security. What the fuck? Now, Branden also assures, along with the Joint Taxation Committee, that this amendment will keep Social Security funded for the century, which sounds good, but it's just kicking the can down the road. It's a hell of a kick. 100 years is a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just pushing the problem to a later date. So now you're probably wondering, well, if you don't agree with the amendment, then why the fuck did you show the video? And you're right. I don't agree with the details in the amendment, but I showed that video for the bigger picture, which is Social Security is a problem that is closer than most people think. So just the fact Branden Boyle is talking about it deserves a pat on the back. Even if he's using this as some sort of political tool, I don't care at this point. We just need Capitol Hill to give a shit. The only time these money-hungry dipshits talk about Social Security is when they want to borrow money from it. Did you know that? Did you know since 1983 the government has quote-unquote borrowed $2.9 trillion from Social Security for other government spending? $2.9 trillion. Do you have any idea how much a trillion is? They make us numb to these type of numbers. It takes 31,688 years for 1 trillion seconds to pass. Or if you had a stack of 1 trillion $1 bills, it would wrap around the whole fucking planet Earth almost 4 times. It's crazy how much money $1 trillion is, and they talk about it like it's nothing. Now, I'm sure the government will pay that money back. I mean, all they gotta do is go down to the Fed, print some fresh new Benjis, so that's not the problem. But Social Security shouldn't be their little personal ATM. The taxpayers shouldn't have to pay the consequence for the government's horrible budgeting skills. But that's another conversation for another day. I don't want to get off topic here. Social Security is necessary, and it needs to exist. And everyone who lives in this country and earns an income should have to pay the same percentage regardless of how much they make. We need to stop tilting the scale and find some fucking balance in this country. Social Security is just one of the many things I plan to talk about, because if you haven't noticed, this country is fucked up. And unless we, as the people, the ones who have the actual power to get these clowns who only have their best interest in mind the fuck up out of here, then it's just a matter of time till our country and our rights disappear right in front of our eyes. And we will no longer have the power to do anything about it. We need to wake the fuck up, America, and we need to do something now.